of the word government is mind control. And the vast majority of people worldwide are absolutely mind controlled by their governments, medias, and education systems to believe that their statist government is a moral and altruistic institution that exists for the benefit of the people. The reality is, of course, the opposite. The reality is that all nations are like open-air slave plantations, allowing their servant populations to choose their occupation, giving the illusion of freedom. There is no political solution to the problem of government. Voting for a new ceremonial figurehead every 4 years has never, will never, and could never create any significant, lasting positive change, because governments cannot be improved or made moral from within. None of them respect the right of the individual to opt out of being governed. All governments around the world initiate the use of violence in the form of police and coercion in the form of taxes, and this is absolutely immoral and unacceptable. The root problem festering within all governments around the world is not the rife internal corruption or criminality. Those are merely symptoms and side effects of statism. The paramount problem with government is that its mandates are mandatory. Its compulsions are compulsory. For governments to be moral institutions, all taxes and interactions must be made voluntary. If governments are honestly in existence for our benefit, then they must be voluntary and never initiate the use of violence against their populations.
We will establish their governments and establish opposites within. We will own both sides. We will always hide our objective but carry out our plan. They will perform the labor for us, and we shall prosper from their toil. An illusion it will be, so large, so vast, it will escape their perception. Those who will see it will be thought of as insane. We will create separate fronts to prevent them from seeing the connection between us. We will behave as if we are not connected to keep the illusion alive. Our goal will be accomplished one drop at a time, so as to never bring suspicion upon ourselves. This will also prevent them from seeing the changes as they occur. We will keep their lifespan short and their minds weak while pretending to do the opposite. We will use our knowledge of science and technology in subtle ways so that they will never see what is happening. The poisons will be hidden in everything that surrounds them, in what they drink, eat, breathe, and wear. We must be ingenious in dispensing the poisons, for they can see far. We will teach them that the poisons are good, with fun images and musical tones. Those they look up to will help. We will enlist them to push our poisons. They will see our products being used in film and will grow accustomed to them and will never know their true effect. When they give birth, we will inject poisons into the blood of their children and convince them it is for their help. We will start early on, when their minds are young. We will target their children with what children love most, sweet things. When their teeth decay, we will fill them with metals that will kill their mind and steal their future. When their inability to learn has been affected, we will create medicine that will make them sicker and cause other diseases for which we will create yet more medicine. We will render them docile and weak before us by our power. They will grow depressed, slow, and obese. And when they come to us for help, we will give them more poison. We will focus their attention towards money and material goods, so that the many never connect with their inner self. We will distract them with fornication, external pleasures and games, so that they may never be one with the oneness of it all. We will make them kill each other when it suits us. We will keep them separated from oneness by dogma and religion. We will control all aspects of their lives and tell them what to think and how. We will guide them kindly and let them think they are guiding themselves. We will foment animosity between them through our factions. When a light shall shine among them, we shall extinguish it by ridicule or death, whichever suits us best. But if they ever find out they are our equal, we shall perish then. This they must never know. If they ever find out that together they can vanquish us, they will take action. They must never, ever find out what we have done. For if they do, we shall have no place to run, for it will be easy to see who we are once the veil is fallen. Our actions will have revealed who we are, and they will hunt us down, and no person shall give us shelter.
I'm very skeptical, but I have an open mind. You see, I'm pretty unique in the respect that I actually will challenge my own belief system, challenge my own worldview, and I'm not afraid to do that. Many Americans are. They just have gut, instinctual, emotional responses, and if it doesn't go with their familiar narrative of how they think the world's supposed to work, they ridicule, they laugh, they engage themselves in groupthink. They are afraid to question their current reality.
Realize that we've been lied to about everything when it comes to space.
People wonder why I don't trust NASA. That's why I don't trust NASA. Everybody's trying to show you stuff from space, and you keep rejecting it. This is why I reject it. These guys are liars.
It's like some of these pictures, like there's some where they show the Earth at night and you can see all the lights and stuff. It's like, you're telling me the entire continent didn't have clouds? The entire fucking continent, like you can see Africa and all these lights and all this stuff. Like, you know, if you turn on your porch light, I guess you can see it from space, apparently. And it's like there's no clouds in some of these pictures.
We can't get any close-ups of Earth. We can't get a view of Australia with the buildings upside down.
and they'll look at you like you're crazy. But really, you are the sane one for asking real questions.
So there it is. The Earth from outer space. Do you believe this is a real, live recording? Do you believe? How about now? Does this make it more believable? Ask yourself,
is this real? Do you believe? Is this real?
Let's try this another way.
Breaking news. NASA finally did it. They finally did it. They're finally live streaming the Earth spinning from outer space. The world is celebrating. This one will go down in history.
Convinced? Well, if you didn't fall for that, then why would you fall for this? Maybe you just never paid attention. When you do pay attention, you start to notice things.
Kada se spomene sumnja sve većeg broja ljudi u zvanični oblik Zemlje, da je ona sfernog oblika, počne podsmeh, ismejavanje, obavezna je tu opaska o ravnoj ploči koju nose slonovi na svojim leđima i razne druge uvrede. Napad se vrši na ljude, na čoveka, napad ad hominem, gde se uopšte ne uzima u obzir ideja, već se diskredituje čovek, pojedinac. Pritom se zaboravlja da je ismejavanje i podsmeh najefikasnija metoda da se eliminišu sumnje u sistem i u neke zvanične istine. Potpuno se zanemaruje činjenica da među onima koji zastupaju ideju da je Zemlja ravna ima široko obrazovanih ljudi. Onih koji su kao zaljubljenici u nauku želeli da dokažu, pošto nauka nikada to nije dokazala, da je Zemlja okrugla, ali su shvatili da tu nedostaje mnogo elemenata i da taj sistem kakav je dat u udžbenicima ne funkcioniše. Tako se pojavila osnovana sumnja u zvanični sistem verovanja koji je proglašen nespornom naučnom činjenicom. Nauka nije stvar prirode stvarnosti, ona je stvar dogovora oko te stvarnosti. Nije onako kako jeste, već onako kako se dogovorimo da jeste. Svaki prirodni zakon koji čovek definiše nije prirodni zakon, to je društveni zakon. To nije stvar pojavne stvarnosti, već društvenog konsenzusa i dogovora uglavnom malog broja ljudi koji su u određenoj naučnoj oblasti. Takvo mišljenje se proglasi kao ultimativno i onda u to ne sme više da se sumnja. Praktično svako drugačije mišljenje proglašava se kao jeres, slično kao u crkvenoj hijerarhiji. S tim u vezi, veoma je važno naglasiti da je verska tolerancija u identitet tvorca dozvoljena, a različita vera u različite naučne istine nije. Ovakav način donošenja i usvajanja naučnih istina ne bi bio sporan da svi ne svedočimo o sasvim drugačijem svetu oko nas. Seljaku ne treba informacija kako će meteorolog nazvati oblake. Da li su to kumulusi, kumulonimbusi. On iskustveno zna kakvi oblaci mogu da ugroze njegovu letinu. On je povezan intuitivno na informaciono polje prirode i sve informacije koje su potrebne njemu za njegov delokrug rada i za njegov život on će dobiti. Njemu ne trebaju zakoni iz fizike, njemu ne trebaju eksperimenti, robustni stručni nazivi da bi imao ono znanje koje mu je potrebno za život. On će to da dobije na najispravniji način. Ne moramo da letimo u orbitu i ne moramo da završimo neke visoke škole da bismo shvatili da nije onako kako nam zvaničnici govore.
The new and unknown is always fearful to the majority. The fears attending to normal pursuits within an established social pattern may be dispelled by one means or another, But the fear of that which is new and unknown, and which is beyond the conditions of the ordered pattern, must disturb the conforming majority. Human nature demands that beliefs acquired must be cherished and protected, be they ever so incomplete and faulty. The majority become automized to throw against the new and unknown the oral quills of skepticism, cynicism, and ridicule, without even hearing the value inherent in the new. They fear that the new might encroach upon or upset cherished beliefs. But the fearless experimenters and pure scientists, the crackpots, visionaries, dreamers, and madmen, with their indomitable spirits who build civilization, are nourished by a creative nectar too potent for the normal majority consumption.
If you just listen to TV and read scholarly things, you actually begin to think that things are not so bad, or that just little things are wrong. But you have to get a little detached and then come back and look at the world, and you are horrified.
I think all our society is run by insane people for insane objectives. You know, and I think that's what I sussed when I was 16 and 12 way down the line, but I expressed it differently all through my life. It's the same thing I'm expressing all the time, but now I can put it into that sentence that I think we're being run by maniacs for maniacal ends, you know. I think they're all insane, you know, but I'm liable to be put away as insane for expressing that. You know, that's what's insane about it.
Krovna zavera je zaštićena time što je laž toliko velika da je neverovatna. A prihvatili smo je bez provere i prenosimo generacijama, popuno nesvjesni njenog značaja za naš svakodnevni život. To su odgovori koji prevazilaze nauku, koji prevazilaze teologiju, filozofiju, politiku i sve tekovine civilizacije. To je ultimativna tajna čovečanstva, skrivena od ljudi koji ne slute ni u najluđim snovima o čemu se radi.
If the Earth were actually a big ball, the horizon should sink as you ascend, not rise to your eye level, and it would dip at each end of your periphery, not remain flat all around, the horizon rising with the camera level and remaining perfectly flat 360 degrees around.
All the ancient cultures from the beginning of time have depicted a flat, kind of enclosed Earth. So we have this flat Earth cosmology all the way up into the 1900s when a big push was made to live on this round spinning ball flying around the sun. They are basically placing us on a speck of dust flying through infinite space where it was made from this accidental Big Bang. And we really don't mean very much, and everything is kind of an accident, and it kind of leads you into this mentality where things are meaningless. It doesn't matter what you do in life, but the more you research, the more you'll find that you can't prove the spinning ball Earth unless you're suffering from cognitive dissonance and you've been programmed your entire life. All scientific experiments show that we're being lied to about what mainstream science is saying about the Earth.
So you can check with theodolites and telescopes and different methods, lasers, to see if the Earth actually does have that curvature. And it's been tested over and over again and found to have no curvature whatsoever. So I mean, even if they had the number wrong and it was 100,000 miles in circumference, there would still be calculable, measurable curvature that just isn't there. The only place curvature exists is in NASA photos and videos, and those can be proven to be CGI fakes.
You're living in a world where there's fake people faking events on TV in order to move agendas forward.
This is a group of social criminals, these people in the space program. Nassholes, I call them. I have a very low tolerance level for stupid bullshit. Every one of those items is provably untrue at one level or another, but we believe them because they're pounded into our heads from the time we're children. That's what they do with that kind of stuff. They put it in the heads of kids. They pound it in there because they know kids are too young to be able to mount a sophisticated argument against these kind of ideas. And so kids, and up to a certain age, by the way, kids are going to believe everything a grown-up tells them, everything. So kids never learn to question things. Nobody questions things in this country anymore. Nobody questions things. Why? People are too fat and happy. People are way too fucking prosperous for their own good. Everyone's got a cell phone that'll make pancakes and rub their balls. Americans have been silenced, bought off and silenced by gizmos and toys. And as a result, no one's ever learned to question things. Kids who want to learn to read are going to learn to read. Much more important to teach children to question what they read. Kids are going to believe everything a grown-up tells them, everything. So kids never learn to question things. Nobody questions things in this country anymore. Nobody to question things. Kids who want to learn to read are going to learn to read. Much more important to teach children to question what they read.
The way we teach science is you're just some empty vessel and we pour the science into you and then you regurgitate it on an exam.
How do you brainwash? You repeat the same thing over and over again. You know, if somebody's resisting the concept, if you keep fucking repeating it, they'll incorporate it in their brain. Since you were a kid, you've seen this, but you've never seen it from that point of view. But your brain has three-dimensionalized. Oh yeah, that's the Earth. How? Through repetition.
Let's just all get on our hands and knees and wait for a scientist or an astronaut to come along, or Neil deGrasse Tyson to come along and bestow upon us their knowledge.
Now, as you can see, this is the evolution meter, and I've put God, the creator of everything, on the right side, and evolution on the left. I won't change my mind, because I don't have to.
Mac, look, you're wasting our time. You're not going to get us to not believe in evolution.
And why is that?
Because the smartest scientists in the entire world all agree that it's real.
I'm glad you brought that up. Mr. Reynolds, these were all the smartest scientists. Only problem is, they kept being wrong.
This is insane, you fool.
I'm a fool because I have more faith in the saints that wrote the Bible?
Yeah. Because you just read the words of a bunch of guys that you never met, and you just take it on faith that everything they wrote was true.
And what makes you think what your scientists are writing is any more truer than my saints?
Because there are volumes of proven data, numbers, figures.
Have you poured through the data yourself? The numbers, the figures?
Well, no. No.
Oh, interesting. So let me get this straight, Mr. Reynolds. You get your information from a book written by men you've never met. And you take their words as truth based on a willingness to believe, a desire to accept, a leap of, dare I say it, faith?
Come on. Look, I mean, I don't even know how I'm supposed to respond to that.
This is the first time we actually had an instrument of flight actually go high enough to actually fucking check out if what we agreed to 500 years ago was real. So if they were wrong, after 500 years, the question is, would they tell you?
The Copernicus principle, the one that we live by, is that we're insignificant, we mean nothing, we're a speck in the universe. That's the heliocentric model, that we go around the sun. The geocentric model means that everything goes around us. That's what this is in the Bible. That's what the first astronomers were saying. Ptolemy was the first one to say, yeah, we are the center. You can tell based on these observations, everything's revolving around us.
Earth is the center of the universe, and we stand still, and the universe spins around us.
So by surreptitiously indoctrinating us into their scientific materialist sun worship, not only do we lose faith in anything beyond the material, we gain absolute faith in materiality, superficiality, status, selfishness, hedonism, and consumerism. If there's no God and everyone's just an accident, then all that really matters is me, me, me. So they've turned Madonna, the mother of God, into the material girl living in a material world.
It's all about making us feel nothing so that we can be used. If everybody realized how special we all are, how unique every single life is, then this whole world would change overnight. we wouldn't allow ourselves to be used by this cabal.
Newtonian physics, why objects move on a ball spinning 1,000 miles an hour while it's going 26,000 miles around the sun. Basically the model we're accepting right now.
We always thought it was coincidence that even though it was 400 times farther away, that it was also exactly 400 times less diameter, which is why it fits. And the other weird thing about the moon, which everyone thinks, oh, it's just a coincidence, is that we never see the other side of it. It's constantly perfectly rotating, so we only see one side of the moon. Exactly one side. It's not like we have like a quarter of a degree every 5 years or half a degree here and there. It's always the same side. There are no coincidences when it comes to this system. It was deliberately built, but I think it was deliberately built to be detected. And I think we were naturally supposed to figure this thing out maybe as late as the 1970s, but the government figured it out first, and they have been spending a heck of a lot of money trying to keep it a secret.
When I look at the people who signed the Antarctic Treaty, and all the nations that were down there doing whatever they were doing signed a treaty, and I believe it was 1958 or somewhere thereabouts, saying, nope, nobody can stake a claim to Antarctica, and if you're going to go down there, you can only go down there for scientific reasons under carefully restricted guidance, but it's not a free-for-all. Nobody can just, hey, I'm going to go check out Antarctica and do a high jump of my own. Nope, can't do it.
It's the only treaty that's all these countries have signed and never broken and completely agreed on. It's the only one. What treaty is there that everybody's agreed on? We're being kept away from it for a reason. They have some scientific bases there, and literally it's controlled by the military because they don't want you finding out what's beyond.
They're the fucking idiots for just repeating schoolbook bullshit. That's how it works. I was taught schoolbook bullshit in public school, and somehow I was able to break free and free my mind.
While most of you were falling for the political charades, the rest of us were trying to discover the true nature about our world.
Ispostavilo se da je sistem takav kakav nam daju postao neodrživ. Kažu nam da smo prenaselili planetu, da smo potrošili sve resurse, da nas je previše, da nemamo više dovoljno pijaće vode, da smo uništili ekosistem. Za sve to odgovornost, nažalost, nisu preuzeli ti autoriteti koji su nas sve vreme vodili i koje smo slušali, nego su zapravo optužili ljude. Obične ljude koji su samo pratili te autoritete. Problem je zapravo što smo naučeni da verujemo autoritetima u sve ono što oni kažu, a ne u neki svoj intuitivni osjećaj koji bi trebali da pratimo. Ukoliko se usudimo da imamo drugačije mišljenje, da kritikujemo zvanično mišljenje, bivamo proglašeni za teoretičare zavere, bivamo diskreditovani kao pojedinci. U strahu mnogo ljudi da ne bi došlo do takvih situacija zapravo nikada i ne kaže svoje mišljenje. Veruje autoritetima, zanemari svoj intuitivni osjećaj i zapravo u tom neskladu između onoga što intuitivno osjećamo, a što jeste istina, i onoga što nam predstavljaju kao istinu, mi živimo u takvom rascepu. I dok smo tako u neskladu između onoga što intuitivno osjećamo i onoga što nam serviraju, duhovni guruji oko nas nam govore kako treba da izađemo iz kutije i da proširimo um. Ali kada to učinimo u svom životu, onda nas svi brže bolje vraćaju u tu kutiju, nazivaju čudacima, teoretičarima zavere opet. Predstavnici sistema to kažu da ne možemo ništa da učinimo, da su procedure takve kakve su, da ništa nije u njihovoj moći, niti u našoj moći i da takav sistem kakav je treba da opstane. I onda svedočimo ovakvom naopakom svetu u kojem živimo.
I would just add that a lot of people don't realize it, but really the fundamental cornerstone of nihilism and really nihilism because of one simple fact, and that is this whole Copernican principle, or this Big Bang Theory universe where the entire planet and even the galaxy are like a mere speck of dust and completely insignificant in the grand scheme of things. So from that perspective, if the Earth itself is just nothing special in the grand scheme of things, then how could anything that we do in our lives be of remote consequence whatsoever? And so this whole mindset, again, is sort of the founding cornerstone of atheism and ultimately nihilism. However, when people realize that the Big Bang is a load of theoretical bollocks, then it really changes this entire foundation of the world's perspective of this ultimately nihilist viewpoint. And so
this is something that is not an easy answer because of the magnitude of what we're talking about here. How it will change your life, first of all, when you understand it, is dramatic, to say the least. Will it change you from having to go to your job every day and the things that you typically do every day? No. But when this knowledge becomes more mainstream and these agencies are starting to be held accountable, and you understand that they're all participating in this, not just the United States government, not just NASA, but China, Russia, India, all of them have space programs. They all have the same symbolism. They're all doing the exact same thing to their citizenry. And the first thing you have to understand about this is that the deception goes all the way to the top. And when I say all the way to the top, you have to kind of get rid of the notion that the people at the very highest levels are working together. The people that control the world we're not against each other. There was never any such thing really as the Cold War. We're really not enemies with anybody else. This is all a facade that's being brought on for our benefit. But the people that are in power, that have all the money, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the on and on and on, these are the people that literally run the central banking system, which of course has permeated the entire world. And any country that tries to get away from it, their leaders are quickly assassinated. It goes on and on and on. So you have to understand conspiracies a little bit to understand the magnitude of this deception. So why would they do this? Why are they trying to hide the fact that we are on an infinite plane or on a flat earth rather than a ball? Well, the answer to that, there's a lot of answers to that, but in my personal opinion, if you isolate people into the idea that they're on a blue marble that's in the middle of a universe that is really insignificant, and there's thousands or millions and billions of other worlds and possibly other civilizations, that makes most people think that we are insignificant and that we did actually come about as some sort of an accident. Now, when people believe that, their minds are much more malleable into being given the idea that there is no God, there is no creator, that all of this is just some sort of random happenstance. And because of that, that also gives the controllers this fertile soil to build other deceptions on. And it's all about control. Remember, it's not about money. Money is irrelevant. They print the money. Money is just something that you and I agree has value, but it really is just pieces of paper, right? These people are printing the money. They can print money all day long if they want to, and they do. So it's not about that, and it's not just about power either. It's about total control, mental, physical, spiritual, every way, shape, and form possible.
Shvatili bismo suštinu života, suštinu ovog sveta. To ne sme da se dozvoli. Zato što onda možeš čovekom da manipulišeš. Jer on će onda da se bori za sebe. A to uče decu od malena. Život je borba.
You have to remember how big of a conspiracy this is. This isn't talking about just the JFK thing, or isn't talking about just 9/11. It's on an umbrella kind of system to where it is the biggest deception that there is. It actually exposes every other deception, and nothing else brings down the power of the elite, because it really exposes education, science, the economy, television, museums, universities. Think of all the things that have been fooled. I feel worse for the people that are out there building satellites, the people that are out there actually working for these space agencies, the people out there teaching in schools as professors, because they would all come to the conclusion eventually once this gets out, that they've all been contributing to the lie. And that's got to be the worst feeling that there is. And that's why you have a hard time with a Neil deGrasse or a Bill Nye, these guys ever even considering that the earth might not be what they were taught, because they understand if it's not, then their entire lives have been about promoting the lie. They are tool pieces for the elite, for the lie system, and it really destroys everything. And instead, I decided to look into it. I wanted to know, why is evolution real? Where is the evidence? Why are these things facts? How do they know the age of the earth? And the more and more I looked into it, and the more I asked these so-called science backers, the more I realized it was another religion. And that's ultimately, and I'll admit it, an atheist for probably 6 months. And thank goodness I looked into that science. But I notice out there all these other guys who are just making these debunk videos or calling us crazy. The difference between me and them is that they don't want to research it, or they don't know how to research past the deception layer. I mean, you have to understand, this is the biggest deception ever. It can never be let out. So if you're looking for, well, why does Jaron say this? And you go look up Google or something like that, and you just search it one time and don't try and look at any other sources besides the mainstream sources, then you shouldn't be surprised that you're going to get the exact answer you're looking for. That's only going to confirm what the elitists, or what these people who are fooling us from the top down, what they want you to find. And then they go and make videos claiming these are evidence that we're wrong. And they say, well, these guys didn't even research it. If they would have looked it up one time, they would have found it. That's crazy talk. If you think we don't know the mainstream reasoning behind it, that we don't need to bring that up to people, because anybody like you can go look it up and find that exact answer. That's not doing research. And this is a deception on the highest level that you need to go and dig deeper and look at different bits and pieces and put it together and come up with your own explanation. Because if you're just going to take what mainstream tells you and believe it, then go watch Fox News and enjoy what the mainstream wants you to enjoy. That's the way that they operate. So I just think when it comes down to people asking, how does it affect my life? No, I guess it depends on you. If you don't care that you've been lied to about everything, from school, from kindergarten on, everything that you were taught in school was meant to get your mind into a certain frame of reference, to make you think about the world a certain way, to make you think about your parents, and make you think about your friends, and to make you think about your government, all in a prescribed way to make the rich get richer and make you into a wage slave. If you don't care that that happened, if you're happy going to your 9-to-5 job and you're comfortable in your belief about who your creator is, then it doesn't affect your life. For a lot of us, that is a pretty big deal. For me, it looks like 35 years of my life was completely wasted on a false existence that someone else decided to sell me. You know, I'm going to spend the rest of my life exposing it, because I don't think it's right. It's not the way you treat other people. It's not the way you treat other beings. We all have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and somebody just said that. They told us that, but then behind the scenes, they made sure that they kept us unhappy and that we weren't free, and that they were the ones who got to enjoy the good life while we worked for them.
I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty.
Nije ovde toliko reč o obliku zemlje, već o oblikovanju našeg mišljenja kroz program obrazovanja, kojem ostajemo dosledni i kada vidimo da oko nas svet drugačije funkcioniše. U tim našim kutijama u glavi zadati su nam obrasci i mišljenja koje ne želimo da preispitujemo. I nisu ovde u pitanju samo granice na zemlji, koje ne smemo da pređemo, gde ljudska noga nije kročila na neke teritorije koje čuva vojska, već su to zapravo parcele u ljudskim umovima kojima ostajemo dosledni. Iza tih ograničenih teritorija u našim umovima su zabranjene oblasti gde naša misao ne bi trebala da pređe. Ukoliko sami uspemo da pređemo te granice koje su nam zadali u našim umovima, možda otkrijemo i neke nove teritorije na zemlji, a možda čak i čitave svetove.
Pitanje izgleda zemlje nije pitanje nauke, nego suštine života. Jer kada bi ljudi shvatili da je ravna i bezgranična, razumeli bi metafizičku prirodu stvarnosti i probudili bi se u novom svetu u kome bi razumeli i tvorca i svoju ulogu, smisao sopstvenog života. Problem što ne mogu da poveruju da je to istina je samo iz razloga što smo generacijama učili lažnu predstavu sveta.
When you go around long enough in the same direction, you wind up in the place you started from. Yes, Thomas. Why don't we fall off when we walk underneath, Miss Sarah? Because of a force called gravity. What does gravity look like? Gravity is something we can't see, but we know it's a great invisible force that keeps us all here on Earth. It's a natural force that keeps us all from flying off into space. We were always told that the world is flat.
You were told right. Don't listen to her. I've been patient with you, Sarah. Lord knows I've been patient, but now your words have revealed you.
The law of gravity was discovered by Sir Isaac Newton in 1687. That's almost 200 years ago, Uncle Evan.
But there is only one law. The law of God.
What is gravity?
You have no idea. Okay, next question.
Wow.
No, here's the difference. We can describe gravity. We can say what it does to other things. We can measure it, predict with it. But when you start asking, like, what it is, I don't know. Einstein, in an Einsteinian answer, we would say gravity is the curvature of space and time. And objects will follow the curvature of space-time, and we interpret that as a force of gravity. That's probably the best answer I can give.
Nauka apsolutno ne zna šta je masa, šta je vreme. Apsolutno ne zna šta je naelektrisanje, znamo posljedice istoga. Da nauka nije, da tako kažem, stvarnost. Mi ne učimo stvarnost, nego učimo samo opis stvarnosti.
Glavna upotreba sekstanta je da meri ugao između nebeskog objekta i horizonta. Mi imamo tu pravougli trougao i na osnovu jednostavne triangulacije možemo odrediti koliko smo mi daleko od geografskog položaja te zvezde u tom trenutku. Znači to treba da izgleda ovako da ovde bude prav ugao. Naravno na sferi ovde je nacrtano kao da je prav ugao, ali u stvarnosti vi na sferi nikad ne možete imati prav ugao. Jedino na ravnoj površini možete imati prav ugao i pravougli trougao.
Na globusu sekstant ne može da radi. Mislim da je globus završen.
Izuzetno lepo smo uradili stvari, ali se dokazalo nešto za što ja nisam verovao. Ludilo, znači prosto kad sam gledao nisam mogu da verujem šta sve može da se desi. Ali što se tiče istorije nauke, sad od trenutka kad sam vidio efekte koji su vezani za povijanje svetlosti ka horizontu, od horizonta.
Da je neka organizovana indoktrinacija nad svima nama zarad sprovođenja nekih svojih ciljeva i planova.
I sve više sam sklon tome da razmišljamo priče o Eratostenu kao dodatoj bajci u istoriji nauke koja nije realna pojava.
Ja sam jako srećan što čujem to iz usta jedan profesora i svaka čast na hrabrosti. Znate da rizikujete sa ovim mnogo.
Ne možete izdvojiti samo astrofiziku kao spornu. Kompletna nauka se zasniva na premisama.
Na globusu bi ovaj odsjaj trebao da bude mnogo višlje, ali to što se povija svetlost na dole nama pruža mogućnost da mi nešto vidimo iznad. E sad, kako je odraz, kako je svetlo uspelo da ide na gore prvenstveno, da bi posle moglo da se spusti na dole, jer je to svetlo koje je sa površine vode.
Znači, mi smo svi svjedoci da nas opšta nauka laže po obliku zemlje, što se tiče fotografija iz svemira, što se tiče internacionalne svemirske stanice. Tako tu je puno laže i postoje mnogobrojni dokazi, pa sad možemo svi da se upitamo da li nas opšta nauka laže i povodom refrakcije atmosfere, na koji način su oni mjerili kolika zakrivljenost i refrakcija može da bude na određenoj daljini. Ja sam siguran 100% da nas oni lažu.
Ali koliko vidite, formula je još jedna bajka, jer ovdje imamo C i imamo R, pri čime C je kurvatura i R je refraction. Znači, mogu se igrati šta god žele i nema nikakve veze sa realnosti.
Ali ne znači ako je nešto zvanično da je ispravno. Koliko puta se pokazalo kroz istoriju da smo 30 godina smatrali da je nešto dobro i 31. godine shvatimo da nije. Možda smo se opet prevarili.
Šta je po tebi najveća prepreka današnjih naučnika?
Koji je greh broj 1?
Gordost.
Rekao si sve.
Two opposing images and observations. One is the object over the horizon, one is the horizon behind the object, sir. How do we get the pipe behind the object?
So in the example in the video, what you're observing is a very narrow, discontinuous set of atmospheric conditions that only show a strip of what's over the horizon. Whereas in the atmospheric case, there's a continuum of refraction that makes the object, that makes the vista appear continuous over the. So that there's minutely different refraction paths for each of the light beams from along that line from you to the apparent horizon.
Did you know there aren't any experiments that can scientifically prove a moving heliocentric globe Earth? But there are actually experiments that prove the opposite. The Earth does not move at all while the luminaries rotate over us. Even Einstein said, "I have come to believe that the motion of the Earth cannot be detected by any optical experiment." Despite the fact that there is no movement of the Earth recorded or documented through any repeatable scientific experiment, the heliocentric globe model is a theory that is taught in every school as if it were fact. We learned this global concept as a young child before our brain could ever rationalize this hallucination of a theory. Think about when you learned about the globe, and if you were even old enough to remember it. Maybe you started when you were in a crib with a planetary mobile. Literal biblical interpretation is now watered down and suggested to be poetic, figurative, or metaphorical due to our new knowledge from our space programs and solar models. Some Bible teachers have even said Moses, Job, and Isaiah, they didn't understand the Earth was a spinning globe because they didn't own their own rockets.
For 60 years, you've been faking space. There are no spheres in the heavens. The experts have devised them in the imagination so it was easier to understand their movements. So what's that mean? Well, it means stars are not distant. Guilty of a cover-up the likes of which has never been seen in human history. Everything, and I mean everything that we were taught about space, about the planets, about the orbits is a hoax. It's a lie. That means our entire idea of the cosmos isn't just wrong, it's very wrong, astronomically wrong. So, any scientists, any physicists out there going to do anything? Or is the scientific community just going to sit there and do nothing? You guys are really just making it harder for the truth to come out by protecting these frauds and the liars that deceived all of us.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit, and that's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.
To me, the most historic telephone call ever made from the White House. I just can't tell you how proud we all are of what you have done.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a great honor and privilege for us to be here.
A journey to another planet, a manned mission to Mars.
I should tell you that the first mission is scheduled to land on Mars on July the 4th, 1997, Independence Day.
We will undertake extended human missions to the moon as early as 2015, with the goal of living and working there for increasingly extended periods of time. Human missions to Mars and to worlds beyond.
But I just have to say, pretty bluntly here, we've been there before. There's a lot more of space to explore and a lot more to learn when we do. Now, last month we launched a new spacecraft as part of a re-energized space program that will send American astronauts to Mars.
We will establish a foundation for an eventual mission to Mars and perhaps someday to many worlds beyond. If we dare to dream big, and that's what our country is doing again. We're dreaming big.
Problem nauke je što ona, iako deklarativno kaže da se zalaže za opšti interes, ona uopšte ne radi u opštem interesu. U nauci imamo jedan uzak krug ljudi. To su naučnici koji su izvršioci posla i investitori, odnosno finansijeri tih poslova koji zapravo rade samo u svom interesu. I tu nastaje destruktivni potencijal nauke da se svako otkriće upotrebi u interesu profita malog broja ljudi, pa makar i na opštu štetu. A tamo gde je finansijski interes prevashodan i najvažniji, svaki ljudski opšti interes prestaje.
Uz to, motiv naučnika za otkrićima je uvek zbog manipulacija prirodom u sopstvenu korist.
I zapravo to što radi nauka je na štetu celog čovečanstva. Problem ovog sveta nisu neobrazovani ljudi koji se rukovode svojom intuicijom u životu. Paradoksalno, ali problem ovog sveta su upravo obrazovani ljudi. Ljudi koji su naučeni da ne misle svojom glavom, već onim naučenim gradivom iz knjiga. Oni zapravo štite to naučeno gradivo, ta svoje uverenje i to svoje znanje koje su akumulirali u svojim glavama. Štite ga od stvarnosti koja ih okružuje. Oni su prošli kroz sistem obrazovanja, obrazovni program. Obrazovni program, samo ime kaže, to je zapravo program koji služi za programiranje umova onih koji prolaze kroz taj sistem obrazovanja. Kada programirate ljude na taj jedan način, kada im usadite to određeno mišljenje, oni se zapravo identifikuju sa tim naučenim znanjem i po cenu svog života branit će to mišljenje od drugačijeg mišljenja. Oni su programirani da razmišljaju na jedan način. Svaki drugačiji način mora biti ismejan i diskreditovan.
Podsjetim, ljude je lakše prevariti nego im dokazati da su bili prevareni.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake.
Do you remember this? Why would Google be promoting this?
As a joke?
As a joke? No. We know why. They were panicking. Panicking because the platform they purchased 10 years ago was collapsing with truth. The powers that be would not allow that.
As we want to provide users with authoritative, trustworthy information.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I only have a minute and a half, and I don't really need to hear what you're trying to provide. I want to know how you're dealing with all these conspiracy theorists on your platform.
So the first way is by demoting low-quality content and promoting more authoritative content, and the second is by providing more transparency for users. So we're introducing boxes that provide factual information at the top of results that have shown themselves to turn up a lot of information that is counterfactual, such as searching for the Earth is flat on YouTube, where you see a lot of...
Your response is to put a box saying, nope, the Earth is not flat.
Correct.
Okay.
So instead of deleting all of the millions of videos we have made, they simply decided to bring in their puppets to reiterate the agenda at stake.
We are already sufficiently motivated to invest the necessary resources and people in addressing this threat.
Što ne postoji fotografija cijele Antarktike i svemira? Zašto niko nikada nije preleteo planetu u pravcu sever-jug preko polova? Što se mesec ne rotira po zakonima fizike ako ima masu? Otkud male planete blizu Sunca? Pokvarila se gravitacija? Nauka nas uči. Je li to ista ona nauka koja nas uči da smo postali od majmuna? Što su lagali za sletanje na mesec? Kako izgleda zemlja sa tih visina, ako to mora biti tolika tajna?
We wouldn't be heavily censored. They wouldn't be scared to debate us. They wouldn't be trying to censor us at every turn if it wasn't for you guys.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake, honestly.
The Earth being flat is getting out of control. Can you please help?
Can you please help?
When you stand on the shoulders of those who came before, you might just see far enough to realize the Earth isn't flat.
1 + 1 is?
2.
What color is the sky?
Blue.
And the Earth is?
Round. Just like it is here.
This float celebrates flat Earth theory that is spreading ironically around the
world and its possible roundness.
Spinning.
Now they are talking about it. They want you to search for it. because they already changed their algorithm to be set up in their favor.
What is this trash?
None of this tells you our side of the story. These are all videos they put together, so you can watch and learn nothing. Nothing that any of us would show you.
People are actually really starting to wake up with everything that's going on right now. I mean, people are sick of the lies. This is the biggest deception ever. The globe, the spinning ball globe, is the biggest deception. If NASA was legit, literally all they would have to do is one thing. Take one of their satellites, zoom in on someone in Australia, upside down, driving a car. Or in the ocean, swimming, upside down. That's all they would have to do, just zoom in. But they won't do it. They'll never do it.
Why do clowns defend them?
There is no chance you could remove the background.
These people lie to your face in the hope that you will not do your own research. NASA knows that most are too lazy to dig through its massive rabbit hole. Yet, in the meantime, they just love to rub it in your face.
3 million miles from the sun is Earth. Its great oceans forming the clouds and air currents which warm and irrigate the planet.
If the Earth is 25,000 miles in circumference, there must exist a curvature drop of 8 inches times the mile when you square the mile. 1 mile means there should be an 8-inch curvature drop. 2 miles, 2 times 2 times 8 is 32. That's 32-inch drop. 3 miles would be a 72-inch drop. And this would exponentially continue. Here's the longest bridge in the world, the Danyang Kongchong Grand Bridge in China, 102.4 miles long. There should exist nearly 7,000 feet of curvature drop in that bridge. 7,000 foot curvature drop. Do you see it? It ain't there. Look at the horizon, it's flat.
Humans, for the most part, don't have a clue. They don't want one or need one either. They're happy. They think they have a good bead on things.
But why the big secret? People are smart. They can handle it.
The person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it. 1,500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was flat. Imagine what you know tomorrow.
Značaj ove tajne najbolje pokazuje mera opreza da se nikada ne otkrije.
The horizon, for instance, is always completely flat, and you don't feel any motion. So if you were just born today and looked out, you wouldn't assume that you're standing on a spinning ball. You'd assume that you are on a flat, motionless plane. So to assume that we are on a spinning ball is actually contrary to our common sense and our everyday experience. And there's also experiments that have been done to test whether we're on a spinning ball or not.
If it's a flat Earth, why couldn't you stand on the coast of California with a telescope and see Japan or Hawaii or something? And I think you know the answer to that. I'll let you answer that.
Yeah. You can't see an unlimited distance. The lowest layer is the densest and not transparent. So if you imagine like a hot, humid day, the haze over a road, all telescopes will eventually blur out in that same kind of way due to the air. So no, you can't see an infinite distance.
Flat Earthers, it's time. We are going to destroy the Globeheads' arguments concerning flight routes.
All DVDs on space
are all CGI. There's nothing real. And everyone watches that, they believe it, the narration is all programming. What's above us and what we're on, we're being lied to.
Don't we have Hubble? Why don't you point it at the Earth and get some awesome shots of where we live? All the pictures and images from space are CGI. None of them are real.
They have one picture. They say one is real, 1972. All the rest are CGI. Like, where are the pictures of Earth from space? I want to see a picture. I want to see tens of thousands of them. There's none.
Literally zero. They do sometimes exaggerate, like claiming they used a NASA camera 1.6 million miles away to take this alleged video of the dark side of the moon. It doesn't take a genius to see how undeniably computer-generated this image is. And yet, you think we are the moronic ones?
NASA is a corporation, and they are the same people who run Disney. In fact, they are very, very similar, because what they do is they entertain people. They're not teaching people. They don't want people to know the truth about the cosmos. Everyone you see on Google is a CGI image.
To saznajemo ako malo uveličamo tu sličicu, da su oni zapravo u Photoshopu napravili ovu sličicu. To nije nikakva fotografija, to je jedna velika debela laž.
The conspiracy of cosmology is no bigger than that of evolution. Is every teacher and everybody in on the conspiracy of evolution? No, they're just parroting what they've been taught themselves. As are so many other people with cosmology. It's the same thing, no different. And they put it in a textbook and nobody questions it.
Znaka Ujedinjenih nacija, svi ga znate. Ujedinjene nacije znaju. To jest oni koji su to radili. Oni znaju kako izgleda naša planeta, odnosno Zemlja. To mišljenje su imali genijalni umovi kao Francis Bacon, pre njega i helenski astronom Ptolomej, a i čak Aristotel pre njega je mislio isto. Ptolomej je smatrao da su zvezde zakačene kao na ovoj slici na neku nebesku sferu. Iako će vjerojatno mnogi od vas misliti da ovo praznoverje, odbaciti ono što pričam, moram da vam kažem da postoje veoma ozbiljni dokazi u prilog tome da je Zemlja zapravo ravna.
Ludilo, znači prosto kad sam gledao nisam mogao da verujem šta sve može da se desi.
Boats don't disappear over the curvature of the horizon. Boats disappear due to perspective. All you have to do is go to the beach, watch a boat disappear from your eye, and then whip out your telescope, your binoculars, or your high-powered zoom on your camera, and you can pull the entire boat right back into view. Whole mass and all. Yeah, that's right. You think the boat disappeared? Just whip out your telescope, your binoculars, or your zoom camera. You bring the entire boat back into view, completely debunking everything Koi just told you. And here's my video proof. Imagine that. You can debunk the curvature of the Earth yourself with just a simple zoom on your camera.
We took a picture across the Great Lakes from Michigan and was able to see, I believe it was Chicago, which he shouldn't have been able to see. And the television station basically said it was a mirage.
I found this photo, Randmere State Park. This is from Joshua Nowicki, and what you're seeing here is a mirage. We typically would not be able to see this from the Lake Michigan shore. We talked about this last night. Conditions are right on the lake, that we're actually seeing a mirage of the Chicago skyline. Very interesting here. Here's what's happening. This is a good example of a superior mirage. So Joshua was on the Lake Michigan shore. He was looking towards the west, and Chicago's beyond the horizon. Should not be able to see it. However, with the right conditions, we have an inversion. We have cold air near the cold lake water and some relatively warmer air above it. This will bend the image of that skyline back towards the viewer. And so typically we would not be able to see this. This image would be viewable from much, much higher in the sky.
They always say it's a mirage, but for a mirage to happen, you have to have very specific atmospheric conditions. It's not a mirage, it's simply that you're looking across a plain.
People say they don't believe in God because there's no science to back it up, and yet they'll believe the fake information and outright lies that they're told about the Earth. Do you realize that there are not any actual photographs taken of the whole Earth? And there have been many researchers who deal with the photography and film who found many problems with the images and alleged photos of the Earth upon close analysis. We get a new official image of the Earth every few years from NASA. And when we compare one year to another, the exact same perfect diameter globe, by comparison, will reveal entire continents changing in size drastically. Have you ever thought about the thousands of satellites allegedly in space? Shouldn't we be able to receive actual photos in real time of the Earth? I'm going to tell you why we've been victims of an expensive, elaborate, and carefully orchestrated scam. If you're thinking, so what? It's no big deal, then you need to realize that these images are the foundation of our current globe belief and ultimately the only proof you'll ever find. I can just hear all the naive people right now asking me, Steve, why? Why would NASA lie to us? Are they hiding something from us that they don't want us to know? If you don't believe that, then you don't understand dominance, power, greed, supremacy, and control, all working in tandem. Try to break free for a second from your programmed understanding and consider the possibility that every image of the Earth that you thought was real is actually not real at all. The modern idea of the ancients being unknowledgeable about this topic because they didn't have rockets and they didn't understand that we lived on a sphere in outer space is completely a misleading trick. Most of us believe the ancient world was a bunch of knuckle-dragging primitive cavemen who spent most of their time rubbing sticks together to make a fire or build a wagon with square wheels. This image was inserted into our subconscious belief intentionally by learning of Neanderthals and Cro-Magnon men, not to mention the cartoons that we watch that help plant some of those ideas into our open sponge-like minds. But this belief is another way to keep us from our true history.
Finally, we shall place the sun himself at the center of the universe. The globe, heliocentrism, the Big Bang Theory, evolution, all pseudoscientific lies taught to us as fact. And we are taught lie after lie after lie. They need to keep us completely ignorant and uninformed, and for the exact same reason that they didn't educate the slaves. An uneducated slave was much easier to control than an educated one. And slavery still exists today. It has just evolved beyond the ball and chain. Instead of forced labor, we are allowed to have the illusion of education, and we are allowed to choose our own profession. This illusion of freedom and this illusion of choice makes us more productive. The more productive we are, the more taxes we can pay. We are all just small cogs in a massive machine. We are their slaves. We are their debt slaves. So like any slave, why would they ever tell us the truth? Knowledge is power, and he who holds the knowledge holds the power. They pretended to give us educations, but all it was a watered-down curriculum designed to prevent your mind from reaching its true potential. All it was government indoctrination, and people gobbled up lie after lie. All these lies serve one master agenda, and that's to remove God from creation. Their answer for a randomly created, godless universe was the Big Bang Theory, which requires spherical-shaped stars and planets formed through gravity to even be plausible. It doesn't work if the Earth is flat. How could they go about creating a theory of how a flat Earth with all the heavenly bodies revolving around it, could be randomly created without the intelligence of a supreme being. They cannot. A flat, geocentric Earth proves creation.
We're told to believe that we do not feel any movement due to the constant unchanging motion of the Earth, as well as the entire atmosphere moving along with the rotation, because gravity is holding the entire atmosphere in place. But let's assume this is possible. Have you ever watched a hummingbird or a bumblebee move through the air? Or a butterfly flutter its wings so peacefully, playfully bouncing from flower to flower? What happened to the potency of this force of gravity that can hold the air to earth, the water to the earth, people and automobiles to earth, but not affect airplanes or helicopters in flight or any of these very unique little flying creatures?
And yet still, we have to acknowledge that we've had constant media bombardment, both in sort of mainstream news as well as in movies and pop culture and all kinds of stuff, always pushing this alien agenda, people from other worlds out there.
Getting you to actually open your eyes and overcome your love affair with space isn't easy, because that decision to sincerely re-examine your beliefs and your ubiquitous space indoctrination is yours alone. Unfortunately, most people think it's a virtue to shun independent thought and to conform to the mainstream and willfully close one's eyes to unpopular ideas. It's a shame. Remember what Big Brother told us: ignorance is strength. Flat Earth is still the best path to ending our tyranny, because you can test it for yourself. And my only hope here is to get people to open their eyes, even for a moment, and allow themselves to think independently. Finally, people are looking at how the globe model fails the horizon test again and again. As I have stated for a long time, under the globe, you can't have a horizon that extends many miles further than geometrically possible under the globe model. In this video, there's not a centimeter of measurable curvature over a distance of 10 miles, and the refraction fairies can't fix it. No curvature means no globe. No curvature at 10 miles means no curvature everywhere. Besides my beautiful wife, my children, and you YouTube viewers, I don't have any friends. I don't like sports. I don't like partying. I don't like drugs. I don't like materialism. I don't like organized religion. I'm against phony party politics. I generally don't like the disposition of adults nowadays. And I'm a vociferous 9/11 truther, anti-vaxxer, and a flat earther. As you can imagine, that pretty much makes me a loner, and so I cherish the friendships I have made here with many of you and with the Globebusters. Before I get to the crux of this video, I must again point out that there are so many dispositive proofs of the flat earth and fake space.
Since it is impossible to take a real complete picture of our entire world from above. That is why there is no complete image of the Earth, and it is the reason why we do not know the size or the real shape of the plane where we live. Children in all parts of the world can observe that the Earth does not move, that the sun, the moon and the stars are those that revolve around us, because it's what your intuition, common sense, and empirical evidence show. But at school the books show us something very different, an unquestionable truth already established and poor for anyone who wants to question it. The experiments that have been carried out to detect the movement of the Earth have not been able to locate such movement or distinguish it from the relative opposite movement of the universe. Many attempts have been made to prove and show that heliocentrism is true and geocentrism is false. All these attempts have failed, and they have only reinforced geocentrism. It is very difficult to make people see it, so that they stop for a moment, question and reflect on everything they have learned. Not everything has already been investigated, not everything is established, nor has everything been discovered. The important thing here is to invite reflection, research and corroboration.
The problem that truth seekers or flat earthers face when trying to expose lies and deceptions is that most people put their own brains on sleep mode, and they put their trust in the so-called scientific authorities to investigate and explain the reasons for phenomena that we observe from Earth. This is not to say that the scientific community is purposely promoting an incorrect model. What is happening is that everyone is so specialized that they only see a small portion of the big picture. We are basically compartmentalized due to the level of sophistication of technology and our economy. People are also conditioned from kindergarten and throughout school to conform, to obey, and repeat government-sanctioned science. People are conditioned to treat any questioning of the spinning ball Earth as idiotic and primitive. If you mention flat Earth, the reaction is guaranteed to be ridicule, laughter, or even anger at the stupidity of such a statement. No one likes to be wrong, and no one likes to be ridiculed, so there's not much straying from the herd in today's world. I personally believe there's a lot of compelling evidence that calls into question the scientifically accepted model brought to us by the politically created agency of NASA. If everything is exactly how space agencies and government scientists tell us, then we are going to need much more and reliable proof other than CGI images and silly old stories. It is amazing how academia conveniently forgets the debates that used to rage about the rotundity of the Earth, and not by idiots, by learned men and women. So, in closing, I just want to reiterate that there are other alternatives to the theories that were taught to us as fact by space agencies and the political scientific authorities. There are logical and scientifically accepted laws of physics, such as angular resolution, diffraction, and perspective, which can be applied in this pursuit. You don't need to be a math genius or have a PhD in physics to understand that there are physical limitations on our ability to see, even with telescopes and cameras. We need to have faith in our own ability to think and use logic and reason. Otherwise, there are many opportunistic groups of individuals who will step in and do the thinking for us. And these groups may not always have our best interests at heart. In fact, they will take advantage and control those who cannot or will not think for themselves. This, I believe, is the modern-day manifestation of slavery, where most people no longer think like humans. They simply repeat and react.
We have been led to believe that the sun goes down below a horizon as we roll away from it on our spinning ball Earth. When we allow ourselves to question, challenge, or even try to confirm our beliefs with real-life observations, we allow ourselves to see what we really see, even if we cannot understand it.
So this is photo trickery and brainwashing that's got the world thinking that we're on a ball spinning around the sun with a magical force called gravity holding us on the underside of this spinning ball. It's all just brainwashing that we've received. It's pseudoscience accepted as legit science. But real science has confirmed geocentricity in the flat Earth. Flat Earth. Flat Earth. The best way to brainwash the whole world, to lie to the whole world about what the world is. In reality, we're not a cosmic accidental sneeze, nothingness turned everything. This is quite obviously intelligently designed, this thing we're experiencing here, this life, this universe. I can't believe anyone in their right mind can look me in the eyes with a straight face and say, no man, it's all random.
If one accepts the non-intuitive, but highly imaginative, heliocentric model, although it goes against observation, experimental evidence, and common sense, then accept that the Earth is a sphere that is rotating on an imaginary axis at a speed of 1,600 kilometers per hour, which in turn travels around the Sun at a speed of approximately 29 kilometers per second. The Sun in turn travels around the nucleus of a galaxy at a speed of 792,000 kilometers per hour. The Milky Way is traveling over a universe that is expanding at a speed of 71 kilometers per second for each megaparsec of distance. If we are subjected to all these forces and movements, why has no one in all of history ever felt them? Most people answer, although they cannot explain how, that this is because the Earth's atmosphere supposedly rotates precisely along with the Earth. But if that's the case, dogmatic heliocentrists run into a host of problems. For example, if both the Earth and its atmosphere rotate at 1,600 kilometers per hour from west to east, why don't pilots need 1,000 kilometers height compensating acceleration when flying? From east to west? If the 1,600 kilometers per hour atmosphere is constantly flowing east, why don't pilots heading north-south have to set diagonal courses to compensate? If the 1,600 kilometers per hour atmosphere is constantly flowing eastward, how do you explain the casual but unpredictable movement of the clouds, wind patterns and weather formations in all directions? If the atmosphere is constantly creeping along with the Earth's rotation, why can I feel the slightest breeze to the west but not the 1,600 kilometers per hour from the Earth turning to the east? By withdrawing the Earth from the immobile center of the universe, these philosophers, Copernicus, Kepler, Newton, Galileo, Einstein, have physically and metaphysically moved us from a place of supreme importance to one of complete indifference and insignificance. If the Earth is the center of the universe, then the ideas of God, creation and the purpose of human existence are resplendent. But if Earth is just one of the billions of planets that orbit billions of stars and billions of galaxies, then the ideas of God, creation, and a specific purpose for Earth and human existence they become highly implausible.
Before being indoctrinated into the heliocentric globe lie, what is actually so clearly obvious is that the world is flat and motionless. No sovereign-minded adult or child without previous exposure to the heliocentric globe myth would ever find such a thing to be so clearly obvious, because there is no empirical evidence whatsoever to support it. And you cannot dig a hole to China and find more sky below you. It requires years of indoctrination using computer graphics, camera trickery, and generations of lying Freemasonic astronauts to make people believe such things. All young children, uncontacted tribes, and others free from globe indoctrination rightly assume the Earth to be a level, motionless plane because it is perceivably, empirically, and objectively so. Only after having our common sense and personal experience of the world completely obliterated by heliocentric brainwashing could one believe otherwise.
If nobody told us otherwise, we'd logically assume that the Earth was flat, motionless, with everything in the sky revolving around us. Now you can prove that this is the case as well, for instance, with the horizon. As you rise up, no matter how high you go on the top of Mount Everest, or if you go in a balloon higher and higher, we've gotten independent balloons have gone up with cameras. The horizon remains flat all the way around and rises to the eye of the camera all the way up, totally flat, and rises to the eye of the observer.
A što bi tako agresivno branili preispitivanje? Što bi NASA lažirala snimke ako ne kriju ništa? Pa samo treba da se okrene jedan satelit ka Zemlji da usnimi celu Zemlju, ne da nam daju CGI.
We've been programmed and indoctrinated to believe in this round, spinning ball Earth flying through space. If you watch movies, you'll start to notice all the time you're seeing this right in your face. If you think about it, you were shown the globe and taught, before you can even think for yourself or even barely walk, you were taught the globe model. This stuff is imprinted in our minds and we grow up and it's hard to let go.
Taj program obrazovanja je obavezan za sve. Osnovno obrazovanje mora svako da prođe, kažnjava se izostanak iz njega, a svako drugo znanje je dozvoljeno samo na nivou hobija. svaka sličnost sa vojskom nije slučajna.
To all those of you who can't possibly imagine a deception so large, it's time to realize that this isn't a conspiracy anymore. You just need to do the research, and you'll see that we don't and can't live on a spinning ball in space. Period. Math is not reality.
Pilot is flying around the curve of the Earth, then he should be dipping the nose down. Every 5 minutes he should be dipping the nose down to stay around the curve. That's absolute proof that a plane flies over a flat surface rather than a curved one.
Earth doesn't move.
If you look into the experiments to prove that the Earth is spinning, all of them fail.
Ništa ovde ne zavisi od NASA, titularnih autoriteta establishmenta, političara, vlada, svetske finansijske elite, već samo od svakoga od nas pojedinačno. Kada pređemo te bodljikave žice, tih mišljenja u svojim glavama, shvatit ćemo da živimo u svetu beskonačnih mogućnosti. Nisu nama granice i mape zadate u geografskom atlasu. One su nam zadate u glavama. Kada pređemo te granice, shvatit ćemo da postoji bezbroj neograničenih mogućnosti. Hajde onda da iscrtamo nove karte i mape u svom umu.
Get back to the question, how will it change your daily life? Well, until it's actually exposed, not a whole lot, because we're still slaves to this very same system. We still have to go to our jobs, we still have to pay the bills, yada, yada, yada. However, think about when this idea catches on and the awareness of the level of deception that we are kept under. And I think a lot of people are waking up to it. 9/11, being the fraud that it is, Sandy Hook being a fraud, on and on and on. But at some point, we're hoping that this is going to hit critical mass. And when it does, then all of a sudden, these institutions that are taking billions and trillions of dollars from us to simply enslave us, to keep us going to work every day and never having enough money or time, and other countries that are starving, have no medical attention. And in fact, there's active campaigns to kill these people off, and this is a well-known agenda. But all this aside, when this all goes away, then we're talking about an entirely different world. Then we're talking about the kind of world that would be, I dare say, more utopian. And that isn't always necessarily a good thing either, but let's just say that it would be a whole lot better than what we have now. If people understood that we are special, that there is a creator, and that really, when people come to this realization, we will start becoming more aware of the value of other humans and human life. And we don't look at people as, well, just because they're different from us, then they're wrong and they're funny and they're weird. We see each other as brothers, and we see each other as related in family, and we start respecting each other on a level that is due to everyone. And when that happens and we get rid of the governments that are enslaving us and the people above the governments that are controlling them, then all of a sudden we start looking at a society where we can start improving upon ourselves. We can start making our own technologies that will benefit humanity instead of the elite usurping all these technologies and using it for themselves against us. At that point, everything changes. Absolutely everything changes, because we no longer are living in a slave world. We're living in a truly free world where everybody is sovereign and everybody has much more respect for other selves, other people. So that's pretty much the answer to that question. So it is a big thing. It really is. You can't just brush it off as saying, what difference does it make? It's not going to change anything. Au contraire, not only will it change things, it will change things in it'll bring us to an entirely new paradigm, an entirely new way of life. And I'm sure that many people would much rather live in something that would be considered more utopian than what we're at right now, which is an enslaved system.
Understanding what reality is very, very important to me. I think it should be important to everybody. And I think the more that people become perhaps what they call spiritually aware or awake, they're starting to see through things and how things have been manipulated and reality's been created for them.
If, God forbid, everybody came and started demanding answers, and once they can't provide those answers, people realize they are busted. It can't be a mistake. It can't be anything but the deception and control mechanism it is. Because people are waking up. And no matter how much they try to suppress this flat earth movement, it's gonna keep moving one way or another. You can see it. People are waking up. So now, louder than ever, I can hear that clock. Tick-tock, 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 tick-tock.